Anyway, definitely not. We all know what Sana Sabali was like. So even though I am fully aware that the charges were trumped up and were wrong, the conviction was based on a report that had been completely fabricated. But the mere fact that Sana Sabali had those violent tendencies, at least at the back of my mind, I thought perhaps it could have been true.
No, rather, he deserved it because he was violent.
So don't put words in my mouth.
But that's what I should do.
No, sir, you cannot put words, you should not.
I would put words in your mouth. It's up to you to adopt them or to reject them.
Well, if you want to put words in my mouth, like I told you on the first day, come and sit here and give my testimony.
No, I put them in your mouth. I don't say them for you.
No,
so go ahead, Mr.
You can put them to me, but not in my mouth. But
all right.
any counsel,
okay, tell us
counsel,
what you would say.
You see, the thing
answer
is,
the question. Just answer the question.
No. In fact, I mean, I disagree with that. But the bottom line is, counsel, is that, of course, I deeply regret my involvement in the arrest of Sana Sabali. You see, Sana Sabali, we launched the coup. He launched it, but we were the ones who discussed it, conceived it, right from the beginning. Even before that, we were friends. And the rift or the breakdown in our relationship was highly regrettable. You see, we were so close that we used to call each other Ranger Buddy. He was my Ranger Buddy. And you see, in the military, for Rangers, you're always advised not to move alone. You move with your partner, with your friend. You get each other out of trouble. You move together. You live together. And that is how we used to address each other. After 1994, unfortunately, things broke down, and it is highly regrettable. You see, even when Sana Sabali was still in prison, his son Usman would spend nights at my house. You see, I have never lost that affinity.
And were you comfortable with that? His son spending the night at your house? And you are there with the full knowledge that you put his father in jail together with Jame for doing nothing?
Well, if my son was at his house, I would be happy that he's there because I would know that he was in good hands. What I'm just trying to explain to you is that that affinity had never gone away. True, of course, I participated in his arrest, and I'm not denying that fact. But also, on the other hand, too, I deeply regret it, and if I could take it back, I would.
But you had a chance to take it back. You realized during the period of his detention that this was unjust, this was unlawful. You regret it, but you wouldn't do anything about it. That is the issue here.
There was nothing much that I could do. I can recall you asked me, why didn't you go and visit him? And my mind straightway went to a Maninka proverb. That means that if your friend is wearing your enemy's trousers, then obviously, so there was no way that I could have reached out.
The thing is, Mr. Singhateh, it appears that you put your career ambitions above all else, including Sana's liberty, including Sana's freedom, including the law, including the truth at that point in time.
No, I did not. At the point that I arrested him because I believed that he needed to be stopped and checked before he entered Yahya Jammeh's office. Failing which, something drastic could have happened that we would have all regretted.
Even though you are not presented with any evidence to remotely suggests that that was in fact a plausible possibility?
So I think you're forgetting the demeanor of Sana Sabali. He was not just your ordinary person that will get up and go to Yaya Jammeh. He had terrorized most people. And frankly, I believe even Yaya Jammeh was terrified of him too.
That may very well be the case, but nonetheless, no justification. But let us move on. Let us move on. The evidence we received also suggests that not only did you arrest Sana Sabali at State House, but you also took him to Mile 2.
No, sir, I did not take him to Mile 2.
Let me confront you with the evidence of some of the witnesses. And the first one is that of Mr. Ibrahim Chongan. And this is what he had to say. He was asked the question, when you went back to Security Wing number 4 in January, that was the first time you came into contact with those others you left behind when you were moved to Security Wing number 1. Is that right? And he answered, yes, that is right. Now, I came back, I met Sirif Gomez, SAR, everybody, press, everybody, that we left them on that night of the 6th. And then we hugged, and then afterwards, they started to debrief us, to tell us what happened in our absences. Initially, how they were told that we were dead, until afterwards they had doubts that we were there, etc. And that is how we remembered everything. Question. So now you are telling us that Sabali and Haidara were brought in by Singhateh. Which Singhateh are you referring to? He said, yes, Captain Edward Singhateh and Warrant Officer Martin, who is now, I don't know, a brigadier. I can't remember that probably. Batch somebody, I forgot. But he was Singhateh's orderly. That is what Mr. Chongan had to say. Do you dispute that?
Yes, sir. The last time I saw Sana Sabali was at the bottom of the stairs at the back door to the President's office, the President and Vice President's office at State House. I did not go to Mile 2. I went straight back up to see Jammeh.
And Babukar Jeng also, who testified here, told us that he was asked this question, when did that feeling that they could come back end? He was talking about having been told before that, the soldiers would come back and it would be their turn. And he answered as follows: I can only speak for myself. That ended the day that we are brought back as a result of the arrest and detention of Sana Sabali and Sadibu Haidara. At least there was huge sigh of relief when we saw colleagues that we thought were dead, were massacred, buried, and forgotten. It rekindled a lot when we saw them alive, and to some extent brought back some kind of sanity to my senior colleagues that we thought we will never ever see them again, that you let down, that you could not help. For a moment, it was a nice feeling to see them back again, that they were alive. He was asked the question, do you recall who brought in Lieutenant Sana Sabali and Sadibu Haidara, second lieutenant? He answered, I peeped through my window and I saw that they were escorted by Edward Singhateh, and the only other soldier that I could recognize was Alaji Martin, who was among the group, but the rest I do not know. But I saw the two of them, and their hands bound behind their backs, and Edwards was vividly present. That is a second witness who said you were present with Elijah Martin. Both witnesses say it was you and Elijah Martin. What do you say to that?
So I don't even know which cell he was put in. I was not there.
Another witness, Mr. Sirif Gomez, was asked the same question, and I quote, "So let us talk about when Sadibu Haidara and Sana Sabali were brought. Can you tell us who brought them in or what happened that day?" And he answered, "If I recall again, I think it was Edward who escorted them or thereabout, I cannot remember. But now I know they were brought in those days." So he too said it was you who escorted them.
Well, sir, you see, the book that has come out from that mile two is completely similar, too strikingly similar. They all have the same narration of each and every event, and they're in different cells. Anyway, sir, the only thing that I can do is present my side. What I do know is that after 25 years, it is highly unusual for statements to match almost 100%.
Indeed, we are not suggesting that statements matched 100%.
The only thing that I can say is that I did not take Sana Sabali to Mile 2 prison.
Well, Mama Cham.
Yes, Mama Cham, from the same prison, yes, I know.
Who was also present, did indicate in the transcript of his statement that, and I quote, it was Edward Singhateh and the same group of soldiers in handcuffs with Sadibu Haidara, and then the warden hurriedly opened and asked us to come out of the security wing. So he was asked the question, you said Edwards came in with some soldiers escorting the two. Do you recall any one of them? He said, well, certainly no. I knew that he was the officer, and then there was a detail of NCOs that were with him, but certainly I cannot recall any of them. He too said you actually brought in Sana Sabali on that day. And Captain Kambi also said the same thing. We have 5 witnesses. All of them are unanimous on the point that you escorted Sana Sabali to the prison. You still deny that?
Sir, I don't even know which cell he was put in. I did not take Sana
not
Sabali to Mile 2.
All right, okay. So the commission would make up its findings on that. But seeing that you have regretted what happened to Sana Sabali, what would you say to him?
Say I'm sorry. I'm extremely sorry. I know from hearing parts of his testimony, because I could not listen to everything due to the graphic description of what happened to him. I could not imagine how much pain and suffering he had been through. And really, I'm just trying to find words to be able to tell him how much I regret exactly what happened. I'm really sorry, and I wish I could tell him in person. I just don't know how to begin.
Would you be willing to participate in some reconciliation meeting with Sana Sabali?
Absolutely.
And you apologize to him?
Of course.
And beg for his forgiveness?
Absolutely, I will.
Now, let us move on to the arrest of PPP supporters who are alleged to have been demonstrating or planning a demonstration and were detained at the at the Fajara barracks. Amongst them were O.J. Jallow, former Minister of Agriculture, Ousseynou Dabo, lawyer Ousseynou Dabo, Alaji MC Cham, and others. What can you tell us about that?
Well, as far as I can recall, we were given information by the National Intelligence Agency that there was going to be a demonstration, I think, split into two groups, one before the American Embassy, excuse me, and another one before the British High Commission. So they had recommended that it be quashed, that those wanting to demonstrate should not be allowed to demonstrate, and so I believe it must have been the security chiefs that devised the plan on how to make effect the arrests.
Who was briefed about the impending demonstration?
I believe council was briefed.
Did council take a decision?
Either that or the president was briefed and then he briefed us. I cannot remember exactly, but I know it was discussed.
Did the council agree that that demonstration be crushed?
Well, of course, yes, because, I mean, definitely it was an illegal gathering. There was no permit. Demonstrating in front of foreign embassies was not a good thing for our country. And the security chiefs were given the go-ahead to make sure that they effected arrests of those who participated in the demonstrations.
And given the go-ahead by the council, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the council made the decision for the security chiefs to go ahead and cross this so-called illegal gathering.
Yes, sir.
And what happened after that?
I believe a number of people were arrested. I cannot recall how many, but I do understand that there were so many that they had to be secured at Fajara Barracks.
And under what conditions?
I don't exactly know. I was told that they were kept in a hangar.
Is a hangar a place for detention?
No, but that was the only place that was available at the time that could house them.
Did you care to find out the conditions of detention?
No, sir, I did not.
And Mr. MC Cham, you and him had a good relationship or family ties, didn't you?
Absolutely, sir, we did.
I mean, we had his evidence before the commission, and he told the commission that, in fact, your family lived in his home.
Yes, sir. In fact, after my dad died in 1993, he even refused to collect rent from us for a whole year because of the close relationship between our families.
And in fact, as at the time of the coup that brought you into power, you were still residing in his home.
Yes, sir, we were.
He was amongst those who was arrested and detained.
Yes, sir.
He was tortured.
I am not aware of any of them being beaten personally.
Modus operandi of the Gambia security forces. You are arrested,
these are
you
civilians. It's different. For military personnel, you expect it, but you should not meet that out on civilians. That's wrong.
The situation, the prevailing situation at the time was also that civilians were not spared whenever they crossed the government. Isn't that the case, Mr. Singhateh?
Well, I did listen to some of their testimony, and I understand that some of them were beaten, and it was wrong. It should not have happened.
And their detentions were also in inhumane conditions. Wasn't that the case?
Well, sir, like I said at the time, I did not go to visit them to find out what conditions they were under, but they should have been duly and amply taken care of.
At this time, Mr. Singhateh, you were Minister of Defense, weren't you?
Yes, sir, I was.
And the camp in which they were detained was also under your jurisdiction, your responsibility.
Absolutely.
And here were civilians detained in your camp, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, civilians should not be detained in a military camp.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
But you did not do anything to stop that, did you?
No, sir, I did not.
And they were detained in horrible conditions. You did not care to find out whether the conditions were suitable.
Yes, sir, I did not find out whether the conditions were suitable or not.
And they were kept in illegal detention for over a year.
Yes, sir, they were kept for quite a while. I cannot remember the duration.
And do you agree that as a council, all of you are responsible for making that decision, which violated the rights of these people, arresting them and keeping them in a military camp under horrible conditions?
Absolutely, sir, I agree.
You accept responsibility for that too?
Yes, sir, I do.
MC Cham was pretty much a very close person to your father. Did you at least intercede on his behalf?
No, sir, I could not intercede on his behalf.
You did for Sarah Jangha?
What I did, that was for Sarah Jangha's wife at the beginning regarding her vehicle. Later on, when Ali Ngom was Secretary General, we had discussions on how to approach Jammeh to return his properties and allow him to come home. But even then, you know, he was telling me that, you know, your man, that you have to find him in the correct mood to be able to put certain things across. Otherwise, he will feel that that you are trying to side with people that don't like him and are trying to undermine him.
I am content to leave it at this point, that these people, their detentions was unlawful.
Yes, sir.
They were detained in inhumane conditions.
Yes, sir.
These were violations of their rights.
Yes, sir.
And you, as a member of the council and Minister of Defense, you
yes,
share responsibility for these violations.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. What do you say to them? Some of them described very horrible tortures. In fact, some of the victims died soon afterwards. We've been told of Raif Diab. We've been told of the man from Jarasoma. There are a few people who died soon after, very old people who were badly treated. What do you say to these people and their families? About 60 people were detained, including some women.
Extremely sorry. Maybe I'll go into the local languages if you would.
By all means.
Okay. First, because maybe MC Cham is Wolof and a number of them were. So, Mange Jegalu. Di jegalu di ñaan waa réew mi yépp ñu jégal ñu ci luñ def. Surtout. Sorry.
Could you allow the interpreters,
Mr.
Singhateh? Sorry,
yes,
sorry for something. Indicate to us that you're ready. Okay, please go ahead.
Mange Jegalu.
He said he's begging for forgiveness.
Di ñaan kilifa yépp yuñ téye woon ci waxtu boobu noonu.
Appealing to all the elders who were arrested at that time.
Ak seen njaboot yi yépp.
Plus all their families.
ñu ma xam.
Those who know him.
No, those who I know.
Those he knows.
Ak ñu ma xamut yépp.
And those who didn't know him.
Lu xewoon.
What happened?
Warutoon a demee noonu.
Shouldn't have gone that way.
Pour téye sa kilifa noonu.
Just to arrest an elder like that.
Sax jaarut yoon.
Is not even lawful.
Même su fekkee ne sax lum def jaarut ak loi.
Even if he does something which is not lawful.
Waruloo ko téye noonu def ko loolu.
You shouldn't have arrested him like that and do something like that to him.
Surtout si condition yi ngi leen tegoon.
Much more the conditions that they were in.
xam naa ne si luñ jaar.
I know what they went through.
xëj na genn wala bi yëpp mënuñ koo nettali.
Maybe half of them will not be able to recite what happened.
No, maybe they would not be able to narrate even half of it.
Maybe they will not be able to narrate half of it.
Parce que luñ daj dafa métti.
Because what happened to them was very painful.
jaarut yoon.
It is unlawful.
weeruñ ko fenn.
And it has no justification.
te warutoon a am.
And it shouldn't have even happened.
ñeneen yi bàyyi lañ ci ñun.
Some of them were fathers to us.
maa si MC Cham.
People like MC Cham.
MC Cham foog naa waxoon na ne sax ba mu tasee man si supermarket bi sax mënuma woon a taxaw ak moom.
MC Cham even said that when we met at a supermarket, he was unable to stand with me.
dëgg la.
Yes, it's true.
parce que ku nekk bàyyi si yow.
It's true because somebody who is a father to you.
ba pare mu daj yenn daj.
Much more he comes across some difficulties.
ba pare fekk yow tamit am nga si wala si lum daj.
And you also have a hand in what happened to him.
xana nga ñàkk a nekk góor de.
Well, even if you are not an honest person.
moo tax mënuma woon a taxaw moom nuyu ko sax.
This is why I was unable to stand with him or even greet him.
ndik gàcce bi ak rus.
Because of the shame and the feeling I had at that time.
du moom kenn rek ñeneen ak ñeneen.
Not only him, there are others.
maa ngi fàttaliku bi ma mujjee tase moom Banjul Magistrates Court.
I can remember our last meeting at Banjul Magistrate Court, Mr. MC Cham.
dama toogoon si boram mu nekk di ma wax suma yëpp lu ma achieve.
I was sitting near him and he was explaining things to him, things like what I've achieved.
mu ne kontaan na si man torop.
He said he was very happy about me.
parce que dama taka suma ndiga.
Because I was somebody who was very, very strong.
Hardworking,
okay.
ba pare ma dellu school.
And I went back to school.
njëriñ suma bopp njëriñ suma njaboot.
To benefit myself and my family.
kon loolu rek moo la mun a wax ne depuis bi ma géejee gis ak moom sax suma interest bi mu ngi woon si moom because mu ngi doon toppa suma affaire.
That should show that even we didn't see each other for quite a long time, but that shows that he was still interested in me or in my affairs.
Ousseynou Dabo tam the same.
The same thing applies to Ousseynou Dabo.
Ousseynou Dabo si kanamam lañ yaroo.
We were brought up in the presence of Ousseynou Dabo.
waaye xaaral ma dugga boobu noonu si soose.
Yes, I would like to say that in Mandinka.
Ntol kuluta Uncle Ousseynou Nyato Fajara Jang.
We were brought up in the presence of Ousseynou Dabo at Fajara.
Mol malon de bari badia bentemali.
People didn't know, but we are relatives.
Ousseynou funding Kambrama Dabo.
Ousseyni's stepfather, Kamburama Dabo.
Anim Mbinki Fatu Jambang wale be futurini no.
Was married to my aunt Fatu Jambang.
Badia la Carola Nkoto Kelemu.
On the side of relationship, he's my elder brother.
Bari personally na Karon teka commande uncle na benta dawoda alisanyininka.
But on my side, personally, I used to call him uncle wherever we meet.
Amusu Keba.
His elder wife.
Aning na first wife and dentally.
Is related to my first wife.
Mayendur.
Maindur.
Na dinke folo nga mentola Yaya Jammeh.
My first son I named after Yaya Jammeh.
Wo kuleo.
The naming ceremony for that boy.
Maindur ya beleke.
Maindur did a lot of things. She might have done all.
I snacks all nati.
She brought in snacks.
Drinks all nati.
Drinks.
And infenjama.
And many, many other things.
Na dindin wato.
When I was a young boy,
Ntolebe dendin fence la Fajara.
We shared a fence at Fajara.
So suto unka wo fence osa unka dungela wanyo kono kodomoro taje.
At night, I used to scale that fence, go into their kitchen and take food from the kitchen.
Katu Mayendur bedokola nung hotel training school.
Because Mayendur was working at the hotel training school.
Sunkutol membe nunje fat dabo nem fanta dabo wole kada yele nyung puru ngadomoro taje.
The girls who were working there, Fat Dabo and Fanta Dabo, used to
Jalang Dabo
used to open the door for me to go and take that food.
Juguna.
And Juguna.
So, nin denta mola nin sifa la komteng.
So if you are related with people like this,
nata tamal tema.
Something like that comes to happen between you.
Ni manke foroti fo malo yemuta.
If you are not somebody who is not shameful, then if you are not somebody who is straightforward, then you'll be shameful.
Walatin hani kabi.
This is why up to this date,
Uncle Usenu atefem fo nyenga soso.
Uncle Usain will not tell me anything which I will deny. Because I was wrong on his side. I wronged him. I wronged my family. I wronged myself. But it was just childishness which happened to us.
Watu men and Tulbe Mansokunda Tala Ntebe 25 years.
The time we were taking the government, I was 25 years old.
Mafoko womu excuse oleti.
I cannot say that's an excuse.
Bari alikana njube tenka miracle mbedamento science hanye kanyesi fake.
Don't think and look at me at this present moment and think that I can do that now.
Otumbe yamfo Daniela.
So I am asking for forgiveness
from
the whole country. Especially these people who suffered in our hands. It shouldn't have happened at all. It happened, but we regret it. So I'm still appealing to all for forgiveness.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Singhateh. May I just take this opportunity to say that this is what the TRRC is all about. Where we have committed violations against the law, where we have violated the rights of our people, we should have the decency to come out and speak the truth about it and ask for forgiveness and help heal the rifts and the bad blood amongst us as a people and bring about reconciliation. Mr. Chair, I think this is a convenient time to take our 30-minute break, as you had suggested, and then we come back and proceed with this witness.
Councillor, are we proceeding with the PPP Fellows Summer situation when we come back, or are you going to another subject? Just want to know.
Yes, when we come back, we will deal with the UDP people who are tortured at the bridge. That is very likely to be short, and then we would move on to the last issue.
Splendid. That's good. Then maybe I can ask one quick clarification from Mr. Singhateh. When did Jammeh actually tell you of the plot by Senator Sabally to overthrow his government?
Yes, sir. If I can recall correctly, it was a couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks before the actual event. It was within that range. But prior to that, the relationship between them had broken down. It had deteriorated.
And I know perhaps you would say that the circumstances weren't right for you to try to mediate during that period before Sana's arrest, or did you talk to Sana privately about Jammeh's concern?
No, sir, I did not. I had testified last Thursday that even myself and Sana, there had been a rift between us. Very unfortunate, but that is what happened. And then it was also very difficult to approach Sana at the time. I'm not trying to point the finger or put the blame on him, because Jammeh can be equally obstinate. And that was the situation that we were in. But generally, it was the violent nature of what was happening on the streets. And in fact, not only that, there was another incident that has come to mind, and please, I'll just take 2 minutes, sir. The incident at Gambisara, where Sana Sabally had paraded my own elders, in the sun at Gambisara, and practically insulted all of them. That, well, also brought some kind of problem, not only with me, because I didn't address that with him, but with the complaints that we were getting, and we did not want the population to be pitted against the military. And Sana Sabali's behavior was sort of doing that. And he was difficult to control. However, having said that, what happened to him was inexcusable. The torture and the trial and everything that he went through was not comparable to, well, I mean, of course, he did, his own things, and I cannot compare apple with oranges. But from our part, I think we should have found a much better way to address this problem. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. We will take a break and come back at 2:45 exactly. Meeting is adjourned. Establishing, I couldn't avoid going there. I told them, the Minister of Justice and the President last year, that this is one obligation I would have to fulfill. They agreed with me. That's why I was absent. But Adelaide, thank you very much indeed for chairing the commission in my absence. Thank you. Council, we may proceed, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Singhateh, and welcome back. I hope you are able to proceed.
Sorry, sir?
Are you able to proceed?
Yes, sir, I am.
Thank you very much. Before the break, we talked about the arrest and unlawful detention of Sana Sabally, as well as his prosecution on trumped-up charges and conviction. And we also talked about the arrest and unlawful detention under inhumane conditions of opposition elements who were planning a demonstration around British High Commission and the U.S. Embassy. Could you confirm that, sir?
Yes, I can.
Good. I would not go back on the issue of the demonstrations. We are satisfied with our evidence on that. I just want to take you back a little bit on the issue of the arrest of Sana Sabally. I know you have accepted responsibility, but for the completion of the evidence, I just want to play one video, the video of the testimony of Mr. Alaji Martin. Could that be played, please, from the point where he's talking about his trip to the prison to take Sana Sabally to Mile 2? When he was arrested, you said from outside just at the door of his office, he was beaten by yourself, Man Lafikor, Alma Momane, and Musa Jame, you said.
Yeah.
Correct? Do you...
he was recently arrested, that's why he was forced to be arrested.
But you beat him?
Yes.
That was wrong.
If somebody is resisting arrest.
So you would beat the person?
Yes.
And that is the modus operandi of the force you worked with at the time?
No, at the time, if somebody is accused and you want to arrest him, he is receiving arrest counsel, you have to force him to be arrested.
Yeah, yes, but did you have to beat him?
Yes. If you want to overcome you have to deal with him.
And by dealing with him, you'd have to beat him.
At that time. Yes.
At that time.
Yes, at that time.
So that is what was acceptable behavior at the time.
At that time, yeah. At that time, the status quo was so tense that somebody alleged for a coup, you have to deal with the individual, especially when he wants to resist arrest counsel. At that time, that's how the status quo was at the time.
So, who took Sabally to Mile 2?
Musa Jame, a lot of people. Musa Jame was there, Almamo was there, I was there, Edward was there.
Which Edward?
Edward Singhateh.
So, how about Haidara? You see, Mr. Singhateh, this is somebody who participated in the arrest of Sana Sabally and transport him to the prison. He did not only say that he was there, he also supported or corroborated the evidence of the 5 other witnesses we have who say that you were present there. And in addition to this, I would direct the Commission to the evidence of one of the prison officers we have who testified before the Commission, who also said that it was Mr. Singhateh who brought Mr. Sana Sabally to the prison. Before I close the conversation on that, I just allow you the opportunity to comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There are a couple of things wrong with what has just been presented. First of all, Almama Mane was not there. When we asked for Almama Mane, they told us that he had crossed to Nyomi. Some of the soldiers had run away. Secondly, when Sana Sabally was arrested, he was not beaten. He did not resist arrest. And he was, in fact, he just complied. And once he was tied and his orderlies were arrested, then he was taken. Now, moreover, what I would like to say...
Mr. Singhateh,
yes, sir.
Just a moment. Even the NIA report listed those who participated, and Almamo Mane's name is right in there.
Sir, Almamo was not there, and this, as you have rightly pointed out, is a fabrication in itself.
Yes, but it is a fabrication around established and verifiable facts. The fabrication is where Sana Sabally was arrested and what he was doing at the point of arrest. But the other things as to who was involved and who participated, that is not a fabrication.
So I just want to point out one simple fact. Taking Sanasabali to mile 2 is really a minor thing as far as I'm concerned. And if I did take him, I would own up to it. Really, I cannot see anything wrong with owning up to the fact that I took him if I did. Now, like I have told you, I did not take him to mile 2. But as the other evidence is there, well, I will just leave it to the hands of the Commission. I can only give my side of the story.
Thank you very much, Mr. Singhateh. So with that, we move on to the issue of the attack, unlawful detention, and torture of UDP supporters at Denton Bridge in 1996. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I don't know much about it, apart from the little that I heard, and I didn't have time to go into great details with regards to the mentions against me. I understand that I was mentioned as to having been at the bridge, and there were some UDP supporters beaten there, and others were arrested and taken away. Is that the extent to which I have been mentioned?
Yes, and but perhaps I should just set the stage for a better understanding of,
yes,
of that evidence. It's been alleged that on the last day of its campaign, supporters of the UDP were going to Banjul in order to receive the UDP leader who was coming from a provincial tour. And at the Denton Bridge, they were attacked by soldiers under the leadership or control of Mr. Yankuba Ture. They were taken off the road towards the side of the police, where they were made to kneel or lie down. There they were brutalized, badly beaten by the military. A lot of them were injured. You were alleged to have been present there. A lot of the injured people were taken to a private clinic in Kololi, where they were treated. These people were almost more than 100. What do you say to that?
Can I respond in Maninka, maybe?
Please, go ahead.
Okay, all right. Until after
hello, Mr. Singhateh. Yes. Perhaps allow the interpreters to take up position.
Okay. Until after men coined the allegation auto, what
I want to make clear in this allegation is
sorry, I just want to indicate that we cannot have more than 2 microphones on. The moment we have 3 microphones on, it means that mine cannot come on. So I'd suggest that we have Mr. Singhateh's microphone on and that of one of the interpreters. Otherwise, I cannot speak on the microphone. Okay, now, okay, just a moment. Let me clarify this with the technician. Can we have more than 2 microphones on at the moment? Or 3? 3 microphones, exactly. We can only have a maximum of 3 microphones on at the same time. So the other interpreter, okay, you've turned off. All right, thank you very much. Mr. Singhateh, proceed, please.
Okay, thank you, sir. Until after Menkoindela
what I want to make clear here is
intending UDP
I have mixed up with the UDP people a lot.
Dobej siring kono to jang ateleka UDP sponsor Bari.
Someone is here among us who sponsors the UDP, but.
Bari na university fanang. Atefana ya takijele ayedojole.
But my university fees were partly also paid by him.
Woto andum mbadin jama fangobe UDP jama fanambe APRC le.
And a lot of my relatives are part of the UDP, and I have some relatives also who are in the APRC.
Ngamira molbeye wolone na banko doya battle.
I think a lot of people know that our country is a small country.
Bari allegation nyinta so la mbafula kombeje.
I cannot deny the allegation. I will say that I was there.
Andung alse yamfanye.
I am appealing for forgiveness.
Ku kilin ne koitama ninga momo lipa. Ngam fangole lipa.
One thing is clear to me. If I happen to beat anybody, then I have beaten myself.
Bare mamira wolungo molko ngamol lipale konye mabetel.
And I don't think that somebody has said that I beat somebody on that day. I was there, but I didn't beat anybody.
Bari hani bide.
But up to now,
mammo ma nyawonya.
I didn't touch anybody.
Iboita mengo menkang.
Anybody who has been wronged.
Ntola fault le moti.
It is our fault.
Andumbe yam for Daniela.
I'm asking for forgiveness.
Yalong political fenko kelol.
These political fights
adatita birin Jawara la jamano
started since during Jawara's time.
Hani Solo Dabo ntekoto ma membanta mamme bake.
Even my elder brother Solo Dabo, who died not long ago.
Abenu NCP le.
He was in the NCP party.
I rally sotole nyinata sate tola betumanna.
He once had a rally in Tumana. I forgot the village name.
Bari anim PPP nkul fananata bengbo silo kang.
He there met up with some people from the PPP party.
Bari nkoto nyul mutaye jufara kende ke fango.
They beat my elder brother and his people very seriously.
Inem borotatan.
They ran away.
Left a kamen yitandi.
What I want to show here is I have no ill feeling for anybody. Whether you are a member of the UDP or you are from the APRC, whether you are from PDOIS, my wife is in the Doi party.
So left a membambandi wolem nintiko political violence ninkelo.
What I want to explain here clearly is political violence and fighting.
Nyanta graduate la wala silang.
I should have enough knowledge about that. I should be graduated in that.
Alese yamfanye.
I'm asking for forgiveness.
Dindi yalemu.
I was a young man at that time.
Namira 25, 26 years damma.
I was around 25, 26 years at that time.
Bari hanibi.
But up to now,
wofango manke excuse the pulkamo my manyan memmalam.
That couldn't be justified as an excuse to beat anybody.
Woton sonta alisi yamfanye.
Now I agree. Then please forgive me.
Allah baraka.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Singhateh. I understand you have accepted responsibility. You have accepted that you were present there. But would you also accept that soldiers who were subordinate to you carried out the beating of the UDP supporters on that evening?
I think I try to accept everything generally. I accept all of the allegations and I apologize for it. And also I accept responsibility on behalf of the troops. Council, I'm not the type that will point fingers to my juniors and say that it is their fault. Hence, I was senior. No matter what happened, under whatever circumstances, I take responsibility for their actions.
Perhaps I would not broaden it as to take it to whatever circumstances, but I would limit it to the law of command responsibility. That if you knew it was going to happen and you failed to prevent it, you are culpable. If it happens and you failed to punish, you are equally culpable. You agree with that?
Yes, sir, I do.
And you knew that was going to happen. They were going to beat these people.
What I can agree to is that we did not punish. That one I know we did not punish, but leading up to it, no, sir.
How about the ordering? I would imagine that Mr. Edward Singhateh standing there by being vice chairman of the APRC, the soldiers would not come and have the audacity to beat anybody without his express order.
Yes, sir. The situation leading up to it is a little bit hazy. That is why I accepted everything. I cannot say that the soldiers met me there. What would I have been doing there at the bridge within UDP and then soldiers come to meet me? No. I must have met the situation, but I'm not preferring excuses. What I'm trying to say is that my mere presence during the incident was wrong and I accept culpability.
Thank you very much, Mr. Singhateh. Now we move on to the assassination of Mr. Usman Korosise, who was finance minister for the AFPRC. Tell us what you know about that.
Yes, sir. The last time I saw Korosise alive was at the airport when we went to see off Jammeh. After we dispersed from the airport, I went home, and the following day, I believe it must have been a weekend, so my routine would have been to go to the stadium in the morning to play football. It was later on in the morning, upon my return, that I received a call from the Secretary General, Alhaji Mustafa Wada, and he had told me that we had lost the finance minister, a colleague, Usman Korosise.
Please proceed.
Yes, sir. Subsequent to that, we discussed that a thorough investigation has to be conducted, and we attended the burial.
Who discussed the issue of the investigation?
Myself and the Secretary General at the time.
And tell us what happened after you attended the burial.
Well, when we attended the burial, of course, I mean, there were a little bit of hostility at the funeral, but subsequent to that, yes, sir.
Do you know why there was that hostility?
Yes, sir. I believe the death of the late finance minister was blamed on the military. We were being blamed for the death.
And it has nothing to do with party politics, isn't that the case?
Well, you see, Dipakunda at the time was a stronghold of the PPP. So generally, you know, we knew that it was not a territory that was going to be friendly.
The entire Gambia was a PPP stronghold. So Dipakunda was not in isolation. So would you agree that really party politics had nothing to do with that? It was all about the perception, the belief that it was the soldiers who killed Mr. Korosise.
So what I can say is that the whole of the Gambia was not a PPP stronghold. The PPP did not used to win in every constituency throughout this country. The NCP used to win a number of seats. So
as at 1994, if you look at the results of the 1992 elections, it was basically a landslide for the PPP. What I am trying to say is that the attack, the animosity that was displayed towards you was not based on party politics. Rather, it was based on the first point that you made, the feeling by the people that Mr. Singhateh was assassinated by members of the AFPRC.
So I was there, and I can only tell you the perception that I had. I agree that in part was because they believed that Mr. Singhateh was killed by the military. In part too, because it was a PPP stronghold that we had not yet penetrated in other areas. We had managed to make inroads and then make change some minds, but not yet at that time in Dipakunda. So in part, yes, it was due to politics. In part, yes, it was due to the fact that they believed that he was killed by the military.
So proceed with your narration, as your narrative as to what happened. You received information that you have lost the finance minister.
Yes, sir.
And then you went to the funeral.
Yes, sir.
How soon after the information you received did they hold the funeral?
I cannot remember exactly how long it was, but it was not long.
Do you recall the day on which you received the information that the finance minister was lost?
It must have been the very same day that he died. It was the very same day that he died.
We would come back to that. Would we say a Saturday?
Well, what date did he die? If we know the date, then we can know the day.
Well, the event started on the night of the 23rd of June.
And that was?
In 1995.
Exactly. So it's difficult to remember whether it was a Saturday or a Sunday, a Friday or a Saturday.
But you know the day you would normally go to play football, as you said you would
like
typically
I said,
do.
The weekend, Saturday, Sunday. So the following day, being on a weekend, whether it was Saturday or Sunday, I know that I would have been at the stadium.
Okay, we would come back to all that.
Yes, sir.
So this would have been on a Friday.
Yes, sir.
Night. That was the day the president traveled.
Yes, sir.
So after you received this information, do you know whether the burial occurred on that same Saturday or it occurred on the next day?
I know there was a post-mortem that was conducted. I am not sure whether the body was released to them exactly that day, but what I do know is that I was at the burial.
And what happened after the burial?
Well, after the burial, I believe an investigation was conducted and the report was handed over to President Jammeh.
Did you see the report?
No, sir, I did not receive or see the report myself.
Who conducted the investigations?
I understand that the Secretary General had instructed the police to conduct an investigation.
Mr. Singhateh.
Yes, sir.
Would it surprise you to note that we have heard from the top officials in the police, and all of them confirmed that there was no investigations? What do you say to that?
Well, I believe that there must have been an investigation.
We would come
yes,
back
sir.
to
Yes,
all
sir.
that. We
Yes,
will
sir.
come back to all that. Why was Mr. Singhateh assassinated?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, it had involved some money from Libya that was being taken to the Casamas rebels.
Proceed, please.
Yes, sir. And how I got to know about this, we were in President Jammeh's office, cannot remember exactly how long before. It was not too long, within the span of 2 weeks, I guess. And Jammeh had, in fact, it was myself, there was the former DG of NIA Sambaba, and there was Usman Korosise. We were not there for this purpose. We were there for something else. Once that finished, and the three of us stayed behind, Jammeh had been complaining about the border closure with Senegal.
Which three stayed behind?
No, myself, DG, and Usman Korosise.
Proceed, please.
Yes, sir. He had been complaining about the intermittent border closure by the Senegalese. And he said, in fact, it's good. We have some good news, because the Libyan authorities have sent some money for the Casamas rebels and for the rebels just across the border from Casamas in Guinea-Bissau. There was a group of rebels along that stretch. Now, DG NIA had told, his first quick reaction was, sir, you need to use diplomatic means to solve this issue. And I agreed. Now, Koro was definitely in support of Jammeh and gave him an idea of how to get back at Senegal. And what his suggestion was that we move the ferries from Bambatenda Yilitenda and ground them with the guys that they are undergoing maintenance, and take the ferry from Bao Bolong, that was before the bridge was built, and station it at the Trans-Gambia Highway. Because of its small nature, it would not be able to cross the trucks like the two ferries that were there, therefore leading to a bottleneck. The trucks from Senegal would not be able to cross. And Jammeh jumped to that idea and gave instruction that it be carried out, and this exactly was actually carried out. Now, after the death of Korosise, yes, sir.
Just a moment.
Yes, sir.
At this stage, did Mr. Cisse, excuse me, give any other suggestion apart from this suggestion to create a bottleneck?
No, sir, he did not. As far as I can recall, he did not.
Proceed, please.
Yes, sir. So after the death of Korosise, I came to learn that the NIA had also conducted an investigation, an independent investigation. Neither myself nor the Secretary General had instructed them to do so. But it was Sambaba who passed by my office. This was after the return of Hechi, Yahya Jammeh, from his overseas trip. And he wanted to give me a short brief on the report. And he told me that, can you remember the discussion that we had with regards to the Libyan money? And I said, yes. He said, you see, your boss doesn't take advice. this money being a large amount, I think it must have been somewhere between 200 to 250,000 US dollars. Money from Libya used to come in those amounts. We knew that it was an amount. I mean, it was not just a small amount, and you know, for various reasons. So he told me that that money had been given to Koro to give to a very senior rebel commander. And then he explained to me that this had been going on. Apparently, they had, in the past, according to Mr. Sambaba, been taking fuel. They will always take these gallons of fuel and ammunition boxes, sometimes ammunition boxes, but little amounts of money and other things that are demanded by the rebels to support them. Now, the drop-off point was somewhere outside Singhateh. The roads that are there right now, the tar roads, were not there in 1995. And according to Mr. Ba, the rebels used to come in with a gele or whatever vehicle, and they used to wait, and then once they meet, then the exchange would be made. But this time, because the money was a significant amount, it was given to Mr. Usman Korosise. Now, the DG NIA at the time was saying, look, he's not ruling out an accident, he's not ruling out, but he did tell me that he wanted to speak to one of the soldiers whom they had established was there, and this was Tumbul Tamba. So he promised that once he gives the report to President Jammeh, he would keep me posted. Now, some days later, I met with DG. He had not got back to me, and I asked him, but how about what we discussed? And he said, well, you know your man. He just took the report and then placed it and then told me thank you. And that was it, end of story.
And how about, at this stage, did Mr. Cisse support any activity with the Casamance rebels?
Well, I cannot say that he did support any activities with the Casamance rebels. I'm not aware of that. I'm just aware of the conversation that we had in Jammeh's office, and then the subsequent report that Sambaba gave me. But what I can tell you is that apart from the three of us that were there, myself with Jammeh, myself, Sambaba, and Korosise, nobody else was aware of this fact. Jammeh didn't trust Kababajo enough to bring him in on certain things, and neither Yankuba Toure. So I am quite sure that maybe they're hearing this for the first time if they are watching.
We received evidence that on that fateful night, after you returned from the airport having seen Jammeh off, you went to Yankuba Toure's house, and together with soldiers from the Gambia National Army, yourself, Captain Yankuba Toure, Peter Singhateh, Alaji Kanyi, BK Jata, and a few other soldiers, you executed, you assassinated Yankuba Toure, Mr. Usman Korosise, took him and his Mercedes-Benz to Njambur, staged an accident, incinerated the vehicle, and there you have it. The rest is history. The charred remains were subsequently recovered. What do you say to that accusation?
Oh, sir, I say there are so many things wrong with that narration of events, and if we go through the evidence, I'll be able to point that out to you.
We would go through the evidence.
Yes, sir.
The question now is, do you accept that you participated in that assassination, or do you deny participation at all?
I completely deny, sir.
Okay, then we would have to go through the evidence and see what it says. What was your relationship like with Mr. Usman Korosise just before his death?
He was my colleague. We had a good relationship, actually.
Would you say that your relationship was cordial, friendly?
You see, one thing that occurred shortly after his appointment, he informed me that his father was Alhaji Seni Sise. Alhaji Seni Sise happened to be my headmaster in primary school. And he had looked after me and my younger brother and my younger sisters during the time that we were there. And so once we established that connection, even though we didn't make it public, because sometimes in a group you don't show people how close you are to others for obvious reasons, but we had that good relationship.
And of course, with such a good relationship, Mr. Korosise would not have any reason to characterize it differently.
I believe so, yes, sir.
The Commission has received evidence that you were, in fact, quite envious of Mr. Korosise, and that was a result, that was a reason why you hated him and wanted him dead. And let me read out from the statements of one of our witnesses. And this is what he had to say. Question. And at this stage, what was the power dynamics like in Yahya Jammeh's government, especially members of the council or cabinet for that matter? And the witness answered, well, if you're calling the council were still seen as the upper echelon. That is chairman, vice chairman, interior, local government minister. Those were the men in uniforms. Then the civilians. But in responsibility, Usman Korosise was becoming more closer to the chairman than the others. Was that read favorably, question rather, was that read favorably by those who you called the others? And he answered, I know it would not be favorable to Edward Singhateh. He did not want anybody to be between him and the president. And then question, do you know how Edward Singhateh viewed the relationship between Yahya Jammeh and Korosise at the time? And he answered, I was telling you, they got very close because Yahya Jammeh had high esteem for Korosise and getting always at his office for advices or for any other things that he may need him. But he was most of the time with Yahya Jammeh. And jealous, I believe. It was then that jealousy start rising from Edward Singhateh. Jealousy against who? Question. Answered. Against Usman Korosise, as I told you. Edward would not want anybody to be between him and President Jammeh. And question. And your testimony is that Edward Singhateh was jealous of Usman Koro Ceesay because he was increasingly getting closer to Jammeh. Answer, that is correct. Would this be a false description of the situation at the time?
Well, sir, I will give you an answer, and then I will point to a reason. First of all, this testimony is completely false. But then I would like to point to the reason now. Everyone here can recall Yahya Jammeh saying time after time after time that he has no friend and he has no advisors. You see, only if...
Just a moment. Are you suggesting that we should believe everything that Yahya Jammeh said?
Well, with regards to his friends and advisors, I believe that the thing speaks for itself. He has proven time and time again that he has no friend, that he has no advice. Everyone who thinks that you are close to Jammeh has paid the price.
Yes, but isn't it also the case that in spite of all that, people tried to get close to him, and he also tried to bring people closer to him? It doesn't necessarily mean that because at the end of the day, he would fall out with those people. I mean, nonetheless, he still brought people closer to him. Isn't that the case? Isn't that the truth?
What I do know is that if he needs something from you, you will be the star of the month. As soon as that need goes...
Was Koro a rising star in Yahya Jammeh's cabinet?
What I will say was that Koro was our finance minister. We relied on his expertise to keep the economy going.
Was he a star in that cabinet?
Everyone was a star.
Was he regarded highly?
Everyone was regarded highly as far as I
Was he regarded over and above his peers in cabinet?
By who?
Jammeh.
I would not know that. You have to ask Jammeh that.
But Jammeh is not available here. You are here. You are an observer of what was happening. Would you say that Koro was regarded highly in cabinet, above others?
Even if he was, Jammeh did not show that. So I cannot answer for Jammeh.
So you believe that that was not the case? He was not regarded, he was not viewed as a rising star in that cabinet?
What I do know is that he was important, and we all relied on him to ensure that we kept the economy afloat. He was a very important part of the team.
So you are telling us, therefore, that his position was not one you would be envious of. Is that what you're suggesting?
Absolutely not. I was once offered finance minister and I turned it down.
So you are not jealous of Koro?
For what? No way. Not at all.
Did you and Koro have any problems at all?
No, sir.
I know you said your relationship was cordial.
Yes, sir. Very.
Was he petrified of you? Was he scared of you?
I don't see why. I don't see why anyone would be petrified of me. I
have told you, Mr. Singhateh, that whether you know it or not, you had a reputation. And the reputation was one of, I'm sorry, but I have to say it. It's one of ruthlessness, one of being callous. Those are the adjectives that were used against you at the time. People said you were brutal. Was Mr. Ceesay, excuse me, scared of you?
I don't believe so. If he was, then that fear must have been misconceived. And like I said, once he had told me who his father was, then we clicked. Our relationship became better.
Let's hear what Mr. Ceesay told members of his family. May I ask the OV van to play the evidence of Madam Bajen Ceesay, please?
However, May of 1995, I walked in my mom's bedroom and found Koro and my mom having a discussion. Upon entering the room, I could see my mom was a little bit uncomfortable looking on facial expressions. I asked what was going on. Koro just said, "Oh, nothing to worry about." But Mom told me Koro just related a message to her saying he had an argument with Lieutenant Edward Singhateh at the time, and Edward Singhateh threatened to kill Koro.
Who was Lieutenant Edward Singhateh at that time?
He was the vice chairman.
And according to what Koro told your mom, Edward Singhateh threatened to...
And play it again without the intervention or the interference of the other audio.
Singhateh at the time, and Edward Singhateh threatened to kill Koro.
Could you take it back, please?
Who was Lieutenant Edward Singhateh at that time?
He was the vice chair.
Could you take it back, please? Could you take it back a little bit?
Koro told your mom?
Could you take it back, please? Could you take it back, please?
I asked what was going on. Koro just said, "Oh, nothing to worry about." But Mom told me Koro just related a message to her saying he had an argument with Lieutenant Edward Singhateh at the time, and Edward Singhateh threatened to kill Koro.
Who was Lieutenant Edward Singhateh at that time?
He was the vice chairman.
And according to what Koro told your mom, Edward Singhateh threatened to kill him following an argument that they had.
Yes.
That was a very serious threat.
Who was Lieutenant Edward Singhateh at that time?
He was the vice chairman.
Mr. Singhateh, Govivan, stop it, please. In spite of the corruption, I think you've heard the gist of it. Yabajen Sise, sister of Mr. Usman Koro Sise, said Koro complained to his mother that he had an argument with you and you threatened to kill him. Koro was worried at that time that you would kill him. What do you say to that?
So I say that that is not true. I did not argue with Koro, and I did not threaten to kill him.
Mr. Singhateh, at that time, there was a rumor in town, very rife rumor, and I underline rumor, that the council was not happy with information that Mr. Osman Koro Sise was planning to bring out as part of the budget speech. And he was afraid. Is there any credence to that, or that is also a lie?
Sir, there is no truth to that rumor. You see, the budget speech is not written by one person. It is written, drafted by the staff, and then given to the minister who approves it, and then copies are sent to State House. You see, there is nothing that would have appeared in the budget speech that we would not have known beforehand. It's not possible.
The question,
yes, sir,
is not that there was something to be written in it that would have been a surprise to you. The rumor in town was that Mr. Sise wanted to disclose certain information and members of the council would not have it.
So what I can tell you is that there was no information that the council was hiding at the time, and therefore Usman Korosise would not have had any information to disclose.
How about the Libya money? Was the council happy that the Libya money was disclosed? That money that was going to go to the rebels in Casamance?
That money did not belong to the Gambia government. We were just the conduit. We were just the used to pass on that money to those it was meant for.
But that is your opinion, isn't it?
No, but that is exactly what we were told by Jammeh, that this money is for the Casamance rebels.
But that is what you're telling us now.
But that is what I was told. We were told. He was told.
Exactly.
Yes,
but
sir.
What if that money was meant for Gambia and Jammeh was diverting it to the Casamance rebels? Would that be a matter of concern for someone like Mr. Usman Korosise?
So if the money was meant for Gambia government, it would not have come through intelligence operatives. It would have come through the right channel to the Gambia government.
Well, it could have still come to the right channel to the Gambia government for further transfer elsewhere. No. The fact that a clandestine channel is used does not necessarily mean that it was not meant for the Gambia government. And I say this, Mr. Singhateh, because we have seen through the Jammeh Commission that $5 million from the money from Taiwan came through big bags. That is not the right channel of sending money to a government.
Nonetheless, sir.
But you agree?
No, sir. You see, you started by speculating and say that it could have been. And so, what I can assure you is that those that brought the money, the operatives from the World Mataba, or under the guise of the Islamic Call Society, brought money for Casamance and Guinea-Bissau, not for the Gambia on this case. And every time that Libya have sent money for the Gambia government, it has come through the right channels.
And Mr. Singhateh.
Yes, sir.
So far, we've listed 2 witnesses who have provided motives as to why you would be involved in the murder of Usman Korosise. You dispute both pieces of evidence. You dispute the allegation of jealousy and envy, and you dispute the allegation of threats you have made to Mr. Sise by reason of an argument you had with him. You dispute both evidence.
Sir, really, if I am the type that will kill because of jealousy and envy, or because of a threat, okay, I'm going to kill you and then I go and kill you, sir, I'm not that fickle. I believe that people in society know me to be much better than that.
Mr. Singhateh,
those are not motives.
We have seen Sana Sabali eliminated from the scene simply on the basis of, or if I call him, he will call another person, and on the basis of that, and nothing more.
No, it was much more. It was the violence.
Nothing convincing.
It was the violence. It was, but don't take just one aspect and then put it on the table. If you want to be fair, put everything on the table, and then you can say, in totality, it was not enough to have warranted his arrest. So, and I don't know how you can equate the arrest of Sana Sabali and the killing of Korosise.
Sana Sabali was not arrested alone, and Sadib Haidara,
yes, sir,
died as a result.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. So here is a death, here is another death. What I'm trying to say is, your point that you are not so fickle that you would not just on the basis of a threat, just go and carry it out. I am telling you that, well, we have seen it happen. Sana Sabali and Sadibu Haidara were arrested on the basis of spurious allegations, and as a result of their conduct, their treatment, Haidara died.
Yes, but that was a threat to the president, and not that I carried out the threat. I did not threaten Sana Sabali. At no point have I threatened him or Sadibu Haidara, and I had nothing to do with Sadibu Haidara's death.
Well, you have everything to do with it. By arresting him on false and trump-up charges, you knew he was going to be tortured, but that was their modus operandi. He died as a result.
So what I'm trying to say is that I did not go to Mile 2 and kill Sadibu Haidara.
I am not making that allegation.
But that is exactly what you are trying to equate.
No. Far from it.
But it appears as if that is what you are doing.
Okay, let me clarify. I am not suggesting that you authored Sadibu Haidara's death. Clear?
Yes, sir.
My proposition to you is that you have something to do with his death, by reason of the fact that you knew very well that the modus operandi of the army was you are arrested, you are beaten to nonsense. And you participated in the arrest of Sadibu Haidara in the full knowledge that the evidence against him was so spurious, it amounted to nothing. Nonetheless, you went ahead and have him arrested, and the rest is history. What followed is the natural thing. He was beaten as you expected. Soon thereafter, he died. So you have everything to do with it.
So beating and killing are not one and the same.
So if a person dies as a result of beating, so that beating would not amount to killing?
I believe what was explained here by Sana Sabali went way beyond just a mere beating. It went way, way, way beyond that. And it cannot be equated.
The commission would make its findings on that, so I will move on. But not only did Koro complain to his family that he feared you, that you had threatened him, he was also warned to be mindful of you. We have received evidence that Mr. Ibrahim Akambi warned Koro to be very careful of you. What do you say to that?
Well, sir, I cannot comment on whatever opinion Ibrahim Akambi has of me. I told this commission that I respect him, and he was a professional officer, but I cannot comment on something that was said to Usman Koro by a third party.
I appreciate that, but I have to bring out the evidence to you and allow you to comment.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Kambi was asked of this question. Sorry, Yabajan was asked this question. Can you tell us what the note said? And she answered. The note I read after Koro read the note itself. So the note said for Koro to be very careful of Edward Singhateh. He was very ruthless and dangerous. So after I read that information, Koro took the paper from me and shredded and threw it in the kitchen whilst I was cooking. So this is the impression that colleagues of you who were in the army had of you at the time, that you were dangerous and ruthless, especially with regards to Mr. Usman Koro Sise. What do you say to that?
Sir, I would say that that is not a true reflection of the opinion, of the general opinion of me in the military at that time or any time. I wish that you had taken a wider sample to find out whether it was only the victims that felt that I was ruthless and heartless and violent, or whether it was general and across the board.
Well, I would err on the side of the victims. Those who have not crossed your line would not definitely be the best barometer to test how you would deal with people. Perhaps the victims would be the better test. But nonetheless, I will just move on and talk about the next subject. You told the commission that you were never at Yankuba Toure's house.
Yes, sir.
On the night Koro Ceesay was murdered.
Yes, sir.
Tell us where you went after you left the airport.
I went home.
And you remained at home all night?
Yes, sir.
So you did not leave your house at all?
No, sir.
This is ironclad alibi.
This is what happened.
And the evidence before this commission is completely different. The evidence suggests that you were, in fact, in the house of Mr. Yankuba Toure, where the assassination was carried out. You still deny that?
Yes, sir, I do.
As the acting head of state at the time, when you left the airport, you did not leave alone, did you?
No, sir, I did not.
You must have left with your orderlies and driver.
Yes, sir, I did.
And they definitely would know where you went.
They should, yes.
And according to you, you went home?
Yes, sir.
So they must be the people to have taken you home?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's hear what your orderlies have to say at the time. Let's listen to one Lamin S. Marong. You know him?
Yes, sir, I do.
What was he to you at the time?
He was my orderly.
So he would know where you went that night?
He should have, yes.
Yeah. And let me read out his statement, Mr. Chair. Paragraph 31, and I quote, "On the issue of the death of Usman Koro Ceesay, where I was named, on that day, Chairman Jame was due to travel. However, a guard of honor was not performed because it was raining heavily that day. On our way back from seeing the president off, I was with Bachsamba Jallo and Lamin Fati. Edward Singhateh asked us to pass by Yankuba Toure's residence. Upon arrival, I opened the car door. He alighted. The statement says aligned, but that's a mistake. It should read he alighted. And gave me his briefcase to go home and give it to his wife, Aja. He indicated that he did not need an escort. On our way home, I said to Fati, it's not safe as he is without an orderly." Unquote. Your own orderly said you did not go home as you suggest. He dropped you off at Yankuba Toure's house. Is he lying?
Well, sir, first of all, it was not raining heavily at the airport.
Mr.
No,
Singhateh.
sir, we have to look at the evidence in totality. We just cannot cherry pick exactly what we want.
I will allow you to indulge yourself, but it would be helpful if we focus on the important issues. Obviously, the evidence is that it rained that day, whether it heavily or not so heavily, that's an individual's opinion. But I'll allow you to respond to the issues you want to respond to. But let's focus on the most important issues. Proceed, please.
Yes, sir, they are all important issues. Yes. Secondly, too, Bachsamba Jallo was not my driver at the time, so he could not have been in the car. And thirdly, they would not have dropped me there on that day. If it was any other day, yes, I would have said yes. But as acting president, I would not have risked, first of all, being dropped off alone anywhere, number one. And number two, I would not have risked being dropped off at a place that was going to become a crime scene, because I would be linked. So I'm not intelligent, but I'm also not that stupid either.
You're telling us you would not be dropped off at a crime scene?
Yes, sir.
So that was a crime scene, wasn't it?
No, but it has been purported to have been a crime scene, because you have said that that is where Koro Ceesay was killed. You said it.
Well, you cannot have it both ways, Mr. Singhateh.
Sir, well, you cannot have it both ways either. None of us can.
I am just pointing to one direction. And my direction is your own security guard said he did not drop you at your house, as you claim. He dropped you off at Yankuba Toure's house. Is he lying?
Not that day. I was not dropped off at Yankuba Toure's house that day.
Well, he spoke of that particular day. Is he lying?
Sir, I believe he is mistaken.
Okay, you did not have only one security guard.
True.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
In fact, you had two.
Yes, sir.
And the other security guard would be Lamin Fati.
Yes, sir.
And Lamin Fati would obviously know where you went from the airport. This was not any other day. This was a day when the president was traveling. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's hear what Lamin Fati has to say about where you were taken on that day. Could you kindly play the video, please?
Cannabis was coming, was stopped, he refused, and he was fired. Then they attacked one Abdul Barajo from, I think, Abdul Barajo. He's still serving, I believe, to Edward. He was the driver. We went to airport to see the president off. After the press, Abdul Barajo, I think, is from Badibu or from Janjambure.
Okay. From where did you go to the airport?
From Cape House.
All right.
In Bakau.
What time?
This was after 8, because the president was departing at 9, coming at 9. It's like 7:30. It was dark, still dark. But actually, I can't remember the time. But I think the president coming was like scheduled at 9, but normally there will be some delays. Then we went to the airport. After the president's arrival, or president's departure, we were driving home. Supposed to go to, how do you call it again? Cape House. All at a traffic light. Then I saw the driver just bang on the left, towards Kotu. Then we drive towards Senegambia, up to Yankuba Toure's house. Then Edward dropped. When before Edward dropped, when the car stopped, Marong, the bodyguard, normally Edward was always right in the front, and Marong would be sitting back. Then I was sitting this way. He opened the door and saluted him, thinking that we are all going down. Then when Marong saluted him, he said, "No, Marong, unless you can relax. Relax, you go home." We left him there. We went to the house. That is Yankuba's house.
You went to which house?
A Cape House.
And which house did you leave him at?
I live in Cape House.
No, which house did you leave Edward Singhateh?
Yankuba's house.
Yankuba who?
Ture.
At the time, what position did he hold, if you could recall?
Yankuba was minister.
You see your second bodyguard, he said that on that evening, on that night, he dropped you off at Yankuba Toure's house. He too is lying?
Sir, what I believe is that he too is grossly mistaken. And let me give you a reason, please. What is clear from these two is firstly that we left from Cape House. And secondly is that I handed over my briefcase to Marong and told him to give it to my wife, according to them. You see, if that was the case, then I would have had to have left from the office, Because leaving from my house, I don't carry my briefcase. That is why I'm saying it could not have been that day.
Mr. Singhateh, I think it is quite clear that one may be mistaken about a briefcase, but it is unlikely to be mistaken as to where you have dropped off the acting head of state on a particular day. You cannot compare the two. Whether you had given them a briefcase and dropping off the acting president in a private house, that is completely different. You still saying that they are mistaken?
So what I'm trying to establish is that because of these details that they have so vividly remembered, the issue of the briefcase, it could not have been that day. They must have been mistaken on the date.
So you are suggesting, well,
that I was dropped off at any other day, but not exactly that day that this thing occurred.
Yeah, but each of these witnesses was specific on the day. Both of them said they went to the airport and saw of the president. From the airport, they came to Yankuba Toure's house. They are both consistent about that particular point. So when they dropped you off, it's not an issue that they are mistaken about. They are both consistent that it happened after they saw of the president. What do you say to that?
So what I can say is that I don't doubt that I have been dropped off at Yankuba Toure's house, but not on this day.
How many times were you dropped off at Yankuba Toure's house when you were serving as acting president?
As acting president, I hardly go out. That is a matter of principle.
Well, these people say that as acting president, you were dropped off at Yankuba Toure's house on this day. Are they lying?
Well, sir, if you put it that way, then they never said that as acting president. They just said, on our return from the airport, well, I was dropped off.
They said also that the president left the country. They
yes,
also
sir,
said
course.
You are the vice chairman.
Yes.
And we all know this is a matter of public record. It's a matter of public knowledge. It is incontrovertible. It is an established and known fact that you are the acting head of state.
Absolutely. I am not disputing that fact. It's just that you said that they said this, and I said they did not. But what I want to point out...
Okay, put it this way. Yeah. They implied it.
No, they did not imply that I was dropped off. They said I was dropped off.
No, they implied that you, the acting head of state, was dropped off by them at Yankuba Toure's house. Are they lying?
Sir, what I can say is that I have been dropped off before, but not this day in particular. They must have been mistaken with the day.
Well, they particularly, specifically mentioned this day. That would be a lie, according to you, correct?
What I can do is categorically deny that fact.
Okay, let us move on. It would not be just these two people who have seen you, in Yankuba Toure's house on this particular day, on this particular evening. We have Mr. Ahmed Jangom, who also saw you at Yankuba Toure's house that night. And this is what he had to say. Perhaps before I bring out this fact, okay, let me just go with it. this man said that they were made to go on patrol. And when they went on patrol, at a point he was tired and he decided to come back to the house. And when he came to the house, what happened? He said, so when I get into the main gate, because if you get into the main gate, you go direct to the garage. And the garage is where our guard room is. So before I reached the garage, Captain Edward Singhateh came outside and stood near the flowers. He was smoking, and then I complimented him. I said, good evening, sir. He said, yes, good. Good evening. How are you? And he responded, fine, sir. And then he was asked, and what was his condition when you saw him? He responded, well, he was putting on American camo, but the uniform is wet. What is American camo? It is an American uniform. We call it American camouflage. That is why we said American camo. And you said it was in which condition? He answered, it was wet. Then he was asked, did you see his shoes? Yes, I saw his shoes. In what condition were they? They were, this is a mistake, it says molds on his shoes, but it meant to say mud on his shoes. This is what Mr. Jangom said. He said he saw you in Yankuba Toure's house. Is he also lying?
Sir, the person he saw was smoking. I don't smoke. He said that my uniform was wet at night. A dark camouflage uniform that is wet at night, you cannot tell. And in the dark, you cannot determine whether my boots were muddy or not.
He never said it was dark.
But it's at night, was it not?
But you are assuming that it was dark.
At night. If I was dropped off at night, I cannot assume that the sun would be out.
This is the house of a minister of state.
But I was not inside. I was outside, according to him.
Allow me to land.
Yes, sir.
You would imagine that there would be lights, and that the lights would not be limited to inside the house.
Well, sir, if you were there, I'm sure Jangom did not say that, or are you assuming on his behalf as well?
No, I'm not assuming. I am just responding to your own assumption. You are suggesting that it was dark. And I wonder how you know it was dark. You must have been there.
No, you said that it was light. You could not have been there, would you?
No.
Exactly.
I am telling you that this is a minister's home. One would expect that there would be light in the home. Mm-hmm. One would expect that.
Expect?
Yes.
So, anyway, what I can say...
Except if you are there and you want to tell us that you know as a matter of fact that the place was dark.
What I can tell you is that Jangom did not see me there on that day.
Not only Jangom saw you there. Another witness also saw you there. And let's play the video of Mr. Lamindur, who was Yankuba Toure's driver. Mr. Singhateh, kindly turn off your microphone.
They sent somebody.
You know,
at that time, there were no mobiles, so that you could call someone. So they sent one soldier. I cannot remember who the soldier was, but they sent in one soldier. So he said, drivers, they said now you should now move it to vehicles inside. That was when we went in with the vehicles. That time also, as we were moving, we formed a convoy, each sitting inside your vehicle.
Do you recall how many vehicles were in that convoy?
Is there a problem with the video? I want this portion to be played, the portion where the witness said he saw Mr. Edward Singhateh at the house of Mr. Yankuba Ture. Mr. Chair, perhaps I should just proceed, and one of my colleagues would go to the OV van and inquire as to what is the problem with that video, so that it could be sorted out. With your permission, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'll go to evacuation. Okay. Mr. Singhateh, we will come back to this, all right? And perhaps I would take a step backwards. People, the video is fine? Is that so? Okay, play it. Sagar, perhaps you can wait and see what happens. Kindly play the video, please. It appears that that is not the case. The video is not ready. So Sagar Jahateh Thomas or Sagar Thomas Jahateh. I'm sorry, Sagar. I always bungle it. I'm so terribly sorry. Sagar would go out to the OV van and sort it out. In the meantime, we would proceed. Perhaps let me take you a step backwards. It is suggested that prior to Yahya Jammeh's departure on that day, strange things happened at the airport. Whilst Yahya Jammeh was on the steps leading into the plane, he stopped, beckoned on you, and he had a conversation with you. Is that correct?
Well, I cannot recall exactly, but what I do know, on several occasions, as he has been on his way out, whether he's been on the steps or before he alights the steps, he has called me aside and then had a discussion with me.
On this particular occasion, the evidence is that it happened twice. Even just before he entered the plane, he asked you to come again, and you had another conversation with him.
So what is strange about the president calling his vice and then talking to him before he goes into a flight?
The strange thing, Mr. Singhateh, is that those who are present are people who've been present during many, many departures of the president or the head of state, and they have never seen such a thing happening.
Well, sir, what I can say is that if every time the president travels or President Jammeh has traveled and he calls somebody to talk to them, somebody dies, then there will be hardly anybody left, because he does it regularly and people see him on TV calling people aside and talking to them, whether it is the vice president, whether it is a minister, whether it is one of the security chiefs. If he has got something to discuss, for you to follow up or do, he will call you. But that has got nothing to do with anything.
This is right just before he entered the plane. He called on someone in your person to discuss issues before he went in, and that must be quite important, isn't it?
Well, sir, there were many important things happening at the time.
Yes, and therefore this one would be quite important, wouldn't it?
Well, sir, what I do recall is that we had the Constitutional Review Commission. We had decrees which were being drafted. We had the NCC report that we believed that some things needed to be implemented. So there were the projects also that needed to be monitored. And obviously, as head of state, he wants to make sure that things go on normally in his absence.
And it's been alleged by witnesses that, including in that list, is the planned assassination of Usman Koro Sise, which, according to the witnesses, was to be executed and supervised by you. Do you deny that?
Of course, sir. And I will implore you to bring any witness who can tell you exactly what was said on that day, apart from just seeing me and Jammeh talk.
I do not suggest that any witness heard what was discussed. I can only tell you what the suggestion is.
Well, the
suspicion is that this consultation was so abnormal that the killing of Usman Koro Sise was not a coincidence. It wasn't an accident as was reported by your government.
Well, sir, that is highly unfair because Yahya Jammeh has a habit of consulting anyone at any time and has done so on several occasions before departing. In fact, I'm sure if you investigate further, there have even been instances when he has even gone on board his flight and then called somebody for consultation. Please look into that and see if somebody has died as a result.
You see, but when it happens and somebody as important as his own finance minister dies, then it becomes an important issue.
It gives nobody the right to make a link that is not there, sir.
Okay. Mr. Singhateh, now let me just recap and put this in context, right? We have covered a bit of motive. We've established or we've presented you with evidence suggesting that you had a bad relationship with Koro. We presented evidence suggesting. I'm using my words carefully. Yes. I'm saying suggesting. It's for the commission to draw conclusions. I've led evidence suggesting that you were envious of Koro because of the position he held at the time. He was getting closer to Jammeh. Led evidence to show that just before Jammeh's departure, you had unusual conversations with him on the staircase of the plane. Your defense to this accusation is that you have an alibi. You could not have committed the crime because you were not there, you were in your home. I have brought out evidence from Lamin Fati, who was with you at the time. He said he dropped you off at Yankuba Toure's house. Your other security guard, Lamin Marong, also claimed that he dropped you at Yankuba Toure's house. We've had the evidence of Ahmed Jangom. He also said that he saw you at Yankuba Toure's house. Now we would hear from Lamindur later, who the evidence as we know it suggests that you were also at Yankuba Toure's house. I will come back to this, and let us move on to other issues at the moment. We've been told that, in fact, Yankuba Toure's house was the site of the murder. And prior to the execution, Yankuba's family members were extracted from his house in Kersering area and taken to your house, and how is it called? Is it Cape House? What do you say to that?
Well, sir, the wives get together all the time. I cannot recall specifically on this date. I went to the airport, and when I came back, I went into my room.
Did you remember seeing the wives at your house?
It's been 25 years. I cannot, but I do know that they do come to the house.
This would have been a special night, wouldn't it, Mr. Singhateh? This was a night when you, among other things, became acting president. It was not like every other night.
Sir, becoming acting president is not a matter of celebration. The president travels and hands over the country, and he's done it before several times. It doesn't mean that you become president. And so that is not an indication that everything that's happened because I became acting president, you know, is a special occasion. It's got nothing to do with that.
How often did Yahya Jammeh travel at the time?
I cannot recall.
In fact, he rarely traveled at the time. 1995, Yahya Jammeh rarely traveled.
I know I did most of the traveling.
Exactly. So it wasn't entirely correct when you said that it happened frequently. It happened all the time. No. That is far from what obtained at the time. Yahya Jammeh rarely traveled during 1995.
Please don't take me out of context. What I'm saying is that this issue of becoming acting president during the time of my time as vice head of state did happen quite a number of times. I cannot recall how many times.
This would have probably been the first.
No, I don't believe so.
Sana Sabali was removed in January.
Yes, sir. No, was it January or February?
February.
Yes, sir.
You see? And here we were in June.
Mm-hmm.
You were given the reins of acting president. So how many times it would have happened between February, end of February, 27 February, and 23rd June, how many times do you think it happened?
I cannot recall. I am not sure.
Would I be wrong to suggest that this was the first?
I am not sure whether you are wrong. I think we can dig out the records and find out.
The commission would do that.
But even if it was the first, like I said,
it would have been memorable, wouldn't it? Because it was the first time you served as acting head of state. Wouldn't that be memorable, Mr. Singhateh?
And why? You are just holding the fort while the president has gone.
But an important fort, for that matter.
Sir, if you are left at the house, to babysit, and then, to me, it's not a big deal.
And more significantly, a night that the finance minister, one of Gambia's brightest at the time, would be so brutally murdered, that would be quite important, wouldn't it?
So, is it important because I was acting president, or is it important because the minister died that night? What is the point that you are trying to make?
My point is both are so significant, both are so important that this was such a memorable moment You can't just forget it like that, would you?
Sir, no matter how memorable a moment is, after 25 years, your memory does tend to fade. And let's face it, I am human. I'm not superhuman.
You want to forget because this was such a terrible crime.
Is that a question?
Oh, no. Yes, it is a question.
No, I don't want to forget anything.
All right. Okay, let's proceed. You deny, do you, that the wives were asked to come to your house?
Well, sir,
that night?
I did not ask the wives to come to my house on that night or any night. That was not something for me to do.
Do you deny that the wives or Yankuba's family was brought to your house in order to clear the scene, to set the stage for the assassination?
That one I deny, yes.
Well, all the witnesses, I will iterate. Jangom Sise said the families, Yankuba's family, were brought to your house. Ensa Mendi, Yankuba's security guard, his oddly, also said that the family were taken to your house. The driver, Lamindur, said the family was taken to your house. The house was practically, it was empty. Is that also false?
Well, sir, it was not my house, so I would not know whether it was empty or not.
And the guards were told to go on a patrol on the basis of a lie that Gambia was being attacked from the sea. They should go and patrol. That too is a lie?
Sir, at no one time was anybody informed that Gambia is being attacked from the sea. What I do recall is that there were incidents of these fishing boats, these canoes.
Please go ahead, please go ahead.
Incidents of canoes coming ashore along Fajara. And this was reported by civilians on several occasions. It was not known whether they were smuggling goods. It was not known whether people were coming in. It was not known whether there were arms that were being brought in. So there was no information that Gambia was being attacked from the sea.
Even if that were to be the case, the response would not be to withdraw the guards of one of the state ministers, would it?
Well, sir, what I do know from the evidence that has been, given to this commission is that one of the witnesses had told this commission that Yankuba Toure was at State House prior.
Could you kindly answer to my question? You would have the chance to delve into that issue you want to talk about. But could you just answer my question first?
That is what I'm trying to answer.
But what has it got to do with Yankuba Toure being at State House? My question is, in such an eventuality, canoes unlawfully or whatever, mooring at Fajara, whether they carry arms or not, the surveillance of that or a response to that would not be or ought not to be from security guards who were stationed at the house of a minister.
That is what I'm trying to explain, if you would have allowed me.
All right, proceed then.
So what I do understand is that Yankuba was at State House, and this issue was discussed. It had been discussed prior. Now, during the president's trips, the state guard are normally put on standby. And so, being in Fajara or being in Kersering, it would not be unusual if the president had used his unorthodox means of tackling certain things, had asked Yankuba to deploy his guards to go and see if these allegations were true.
Mr. Singhateh, are you serious?
Why not?
Are you really serious?
Yes, sir, I am.
You mean that Yaya Jammeh may have withdrawn Yankuba's guards and leave Yankuba unattended, and for those guards to go to the beach and patrol to see whether there are boats that are landing there?
Absolutely.
You want us to believe that, Mr. Singhateh?
Sir, if you don't want to believe me, that is your choice.
Wouldn't that be preposterous? Wouldn't that be so outrageous that it would be beyond belief?
How many outrageous things has Jammeh done in the past? Preposterous and outrageous,
isn't there a
and
marine
you only
unit?
believe when you see it.
Isn't there a marine unit?
Yes, there is.
And what is the job of the marine unit?
Yeah, the marine unit is, the role is to protect our territorial waters.
Wouldn't that include detecting and taking care of those boats you just talked about?
Yes, but remember, it takes a lot.
Just answer the question.
No, please, if you don't allow me, you would not understand. You see, you have a certain perception. And if you don't allow me to explain,
Mr.
you will not
Singhateh,
get...
please don't hide behind "if you don't allow me." I have given you every latitude to answer every question, including this one. I'll give you every room to answer the question. This is a question that required a yes or no answer. If you want to expatiate, by all means, go ahead. But you can easily answer this by yes or no. I don't want us to waste time just dilly-dallying and going into issues that are extraneous. But go ahead and answer. Wouldn't that have been a responsibility of the Marine unit to detect and address this particular problem?
Ordinarily, yes. However, it takes a lot of fuel to move those marine vessels.
Okay, and for the guards at Yankuba's house?
Yes.
Did you move them by vessel?
I didn't move them.
Were they moved by Jammeh by vessel?
How can you move soldiers by vessel on land?
In fact, do you realize that Ahmed Jangom said that they were sent on patrol without their weapons?
But Esa Mendy said that they carried their weapons.
Clearly, these were two different groups.
So don't pick one over the other.
I am telling you that one of the groups suggested they even went without weapons.
But Esa Mendy clearly told the commission they had their weapons.
That might very well be true.
So why are you picking one?
No, what I am trying to show here, Mr. Singhateh, is that if one of the groups could be instructed to go without weapons, then it must have been assessed that there was no significant threat.
Sir, as far as I know, they were not going to go to neutralize a threat. They were going to observe whether the information that had been given was actually true.
And it was so important to do that, to the extent that Yankuba's guards were withdrawn.
If at all weapons were being brought in, it would have been important for us to know. Even if goods were just being smuggled in or out, it would have been important for us to know.
But Ibu Jallo lived at Fajara. He would have definitely been much closer to the beach, but his guards were not withdrawn.
Ibu Jallo was out of the country.
Precisely, that makes it even a whole lot easier, because the person to guard and protect was not in the country. it would have just been much more feasible to get his guards to just go down the beach and patrol.
But then who do you contact for that? He was not there. How could he give instructions to his guards?
So for the army to contact its guards, they have to go through the principal. They had to go through you to contact the guards. They have to go through you to contact the guards of Yankuba Ture. The army has its established means of communication.
Yes, absolutely. But if you want to withdraw my guards, you come through me.
But, Mr. Singhateh, couldn't the army have, in fact, deployed the Marine unit by car to come down to Fajara? Couldn't that have taken place?
So when this issue was being discussed between Yankuba and the then head of state, I was not privy to it.
I just want to put it to you, Mr. Singhateh, that this story that you are giving us is just intended, really, to cover up the main purpose of the removal of the guards. It was all intended to clear the scene such that this heinous crime could be committed away from the peering eyes of the guards. That is the reason why all these guards and the family members were removed from Yankuba's house. Do you deny that?
Of course, I completely deny that.
And the fact that Yankuba Ture and Yaya Jammeh had a discussion about removing Yankuba's guards to get them to go and patrol, in fact, reinforces the idea, the theory, the notion that Yaya Jammeh, yourself, and Yankuba Ture were complicit in this murder, because all it says is that Yaya Jammeh agreed for the removal of the guards in order to pave the way for the scene to be suitable for the commission of this crime. You deny that?
Sir, I believe that Yankuba would have been completely out of his mind to allow such a crime to be conducted or to be done in his house. Well, I cannot, that is inconceivable.
He was out of his mind to allow his guards, all of them, to be taken away, to go all the way to the beach to just patrol for nothing.
I don't think you can equate the two. Your guards go temporarily for a couple of hours to go and verify information, and the killing of somebody in your own house. I don't think that in anyone's right frame of mind you can compare these two things.
Mr. Singhateh, all the guards claim that they were sent on a wild goose chase. They were all sent to go and look for something that did not exist. They were hoodwinked. What do you say to that?
I say that is not correct.
Let's hear Lamindur and hear what he says.
Patrol. Ako foi hakilo sibula lunna lume yalon ko menno kayan ko bature la bungo kanta inata isamba kata kantaro la karakoten.
Yes, I remember. Yes, I remember.
Was that something that occurred often or not?
Ako fo ka ke womukuleti men ka ke wati bang folung wolundro ne aketa.
That never happened for the guards to go on patrol.
And is that why you recall this particular day?
Ako fole akende wolung imanyina no wolung labang.
Yes, that is why I did not forget that day.
Do you recall if...
But the audio is the interrogation of Lamindur. So the OV van should sort this out. In the meantime, perhaps we can take a short break, another perhaps 30 minutes break. We're doing it by 2 hours, I think, and hope that by the time we return, they would sort it out.
But if that is not going to happen, and you are hearing the audio, and you warn us all that we listen to the audio, forget about the video, then you get the same result. Here.
Mr. Chair, what I am trying to avoid is a legal challenge suggesting that the information that came out was not accurate.
So,
is the audio inaccurate?
No.
Maybe.
The audio may be linked with the witness. It's just a bit convoluted.
So can I maybe just
Mr.
state
Singhateh.
for the record, Mr. Chairman, I have heard the audio, and I have heard that what Lamin Dur has said, that he saw me at the house, and that is being played despite the fact that the video is not being played. So I will not challenge what, mount a legal challenge just because an audio has been played and the video has not come out. Put that on the record for me, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Singhateh, for that. Then I'll just proceed on this point. Mr. Chair, if you want us to take a break at any point in time, please let me know.
Would you want that a 10-minute break, a 15-minute break?
Yes, I think
want us not to have a long break and then come back with the same technical
15
problem.
minutes break. 15 minutes break, but until I finish with this point.
Splendid.
Yes, thank
Please
you very
proceed.
much. So, Mr. Singhateh, then back to the issue of your alibi. You have heard Lamin Dur say that he saw you at the house, at Yankuba Toure's house.
Yes, sir.
On that night. What do you say to that?
So I say it was not that night.
Well, Lamin Dur said it was that night.
It could not have been that night.
Ahmed Jangom said he saw you there that night. You deny it. Your oddly, Lamin Fati said he dropped you at that house that night. You denied it. Your other oddly, Lamin Marong said he dropped you in that house that night. Yankuba Toure's driver, Lamin Dur, said he saw you in that house that night. You still deny that?
Yes, sir. They are mistaken. Not that night.
Okay. 2 of your guards and 2 of Yankuba Toure's staff all saw you there that night. You still deny it?
Sir, you can repeat it 100 times. I still maintain it was not that night.
Well, I would ask it as many times
yes,
as
sir,
I need to.
Of course, and I will answer as many times too.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
We have now struck an understanding.
Yes, sir.
Do you believe that these 4 people have any reason to lie against you?
Well, sir, I don't know Ahmed Jangom to that extent. Lamin Dur, I don't believe so at all. My 2 former orderlies did not leave the house under favorable conditions. Yes, I mean, definitely. So, but anyway, sir, I don't want to point to any excuse. I will give you my side of the story wholeheartedly as possible. And I will not criticize anyone else with their evidence. So whether they have a reason or not, really, sir, it is insignificant to me.
You accept you were there?
No, sir. Again, no. Or are you trying to trip me up? No, sir, I was not there at their house on that day.
Alaji Kanyi.
Yes, sir.
He testified.
Yes, sir.
That not only was he there with you, he testified that himself, you, Yankuba Toure, your brother Peter, and others committed the heinous crime. Let's hear what Kanyi had to say.
Myself, BK Jada, Tumbul Tamba, and Palu Games.
Where did you pick Tumbul Tamba from?
BK came with Tumbul to me.
And Tumbul, does he have another nickname?
No, that's his name, Tumbul Tamba.
Does he have a nickname, another name by which he is known?
No.
Does the name Malia Mungu mean anything to you? Or that's not Tumbul Tamba?
No, Tumbul, that is not Tumbul Tamba.
Tumbul, does he have a nickname? As far as you know?
No, I don't know.
So the four of you,
yes, please,
went to Cape Point.
Cape Point.
Which house did you go to in Cape Point?
Captain Edward Singhateh's house.
And was it a private house?
It's a private house. No, it's like, that is his. He's allocated with that place. We call there, I don't know, either former VP's resident or, yes, that's where he's residing.
So you're referring to the Vice President's residence located at Cape Point?
Yes, please.
And what happened when you got there?
There, Edward, we are briefed by Edward that, okay, don't worry, you are here. We are going to get rid of one fucking cunt.
Could you repeat what you just said so we get exactly what you said?
He said to us that, okay, we are going to get rid of that fucking cunt. One fucking cunt.
We are going to get rid of one fucking cunt.
Cunt, yes.
At this stage, did he tell you who he was referring to?
No, sir.
But when he said that, you knew you were going to go on an operation, correct?
Yes, sir. What kind of operation we don't know, because we at that time we are not with rifle, AK-47, meaning AK-47.
But what did you understand him to mean when he said, we are going to get rid of one fucking cunt? What did you understand him to mean?
It's like, at that time, definitely, all of us we are wondering, who is this man and what kind of operation we are going?
Do you understand what he meant by getting rid of somebody? Did you understand that?
No, sir.
Did you ask him questions?
I salute Yankuba with a civilian. That may be a civilian rather. No. So when Edward entered, he said, that's the minister. That's the time I know this man is a minister.
Did you know his name?
They said Korosis. I later know him as Korosise, Usman Korosise.
And you saluted?
I saluted him. Shake hands, sir, welcome, sir. So, okay. Then Edward lead, I followed him, and the minister was following me, coming inside the house. As we are entering, I just hear the noise, whip, two struck, and the bomb man fall down. As surprise attack at the back, I also take a step forward. That's the Edu turned to me. That is the guy. There was like what they used to pound pepper in the local language, kuda kanturang. That's what Edu take and hit.
Pistol in English. Yes. Kur in Wolof. That's it?
Hit him for the third stroke. Everywhere was blood.